Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. This is the place where you're entitled to Brad's opinion. And now for your host, Brad Allard.
Well, we're back on a Thursday. I have the man here with the keys to the kingdom, Alex Phillips. Yes,
I don't know about
the
that.
keeper of secrets of the dark vault. So we're going to talk about what's going on in Burleson business. That's always a very interesting conversation piece because there's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on.
Yes, and also, we were talking before the show about downtown areas, and and you were hosting that apparently, some sort of grouping.
Yeah, Texas Downtown Association is coming to town on March 27th.
Yeah, we're going to show them Old Town and all this other business.
Talk about how we put projects together, how we kind of come up with the vision process, all that kind of stuff.
Buddy, you're not going to be around here much longer to keep doing that. Some big time outfit's going to come swoop you up.
Nah, I'm not going anywhere.
You don't think so, huh?
No.
Okay.
So
This is your hometown, and you got a daughter in school and the whole routine.
like my 5-minute commute to work.
That is nice, isn't
Yes.
it? I had that for so long, and it really is great. And but I like to reminisce when you're on the show because you've been. You're an old timer like me.
Yeah.
So, were you born here?
No, I was born in McKinney. Moved here when I was 6, I guess. But all my schooling was through BISD. So
Yeah.
old Nola Dunn and Mr. Moore is the principal, and
Yeah, I see Bill Moore.
so-
Not Bill Moore. That's our county attorney. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I just call him Mr. Moore. I see him at church.
that's all I know too.
I just see him at church, and it's Mr. Moore. It's like Mr. Dunn.
Yeah.
Over at the junior high. I can't call
Mr.
him.
Moore still knows me when I run into him. That's probably not a good thing because I
don't think
left
so?
an impression.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what's going on with some of the undeveloped or developing properties.
Okay.
If you have any questions, just put them on the screen. You'll know the drill.
Sure.
But let's talk about some of our local businesses right now to keep us up and running. Thank you. Auto at our place was there this morning. Every other Thursday morning, I get up with the dawn patrol to go have breakfast with some friends from Sunday school, and it's like, and they're more or less my age, and they're all up and they're energetic and they're got the clean shirt on, and I barely make it in time, stumbling out of the rack, So it's just funny. I'm not an early morning person like these older guys are, but we try to solve all the world's problems and don't get very far. But also we're going to talk about Otto's other venture, Genus. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's green. I really like that picture, and he may have some of that occasionally. Like local business. I know that he and I and a third party are talking about some clips that we can make that they could run on the screen. For just Burleson in general.
Yeah, there's a lot of people clamoring for him to open up.
You betcha. And, it's going to be great. If you haven't been inside it yet, I was able to get an invitation a couple of weeks ago to go just visit. And they weren't even close to ready, but they were practicing on pizzas, so I had a little bit of it. And it's great, as always. But it's like what he grew up with, a joint, place he knew, neighborhood place. It's going to be like the kind of out-of-the-way place that the locals know about. And it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be a good spot.
Yeah, and according to what I was told, he's also opening a hamburger joint down the road from where we are right here.
That's what I hear too.
Yeah, that's what I hear, but I'll let him talk about that. Also, Wild Cigar, they got a lot of cigar specials going on. They have happy hours on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. They're also a stop for a lot of the cigar vendors. They're getting a reputation nationally with cigar people, and so they'll get a lot of specialty cigars, and people will call them and order them online and things of that nature. So it's they're making business. And
Very cool.
Yeah. So Wild Cigar over by the Standard, Chris and Nathan will set you right up. Also, our friend Tiffany. A couple days from now, we're going to have the St. Patty's Day pub crawl. That's a big deal.
It is, and it's a good one for all of our local businesses downtown too. So,
the thing about it is, she does such a great job with these things. She does another one around 4th of July or at the Standard, and it's well attended and lots of stuff going on. This will have a lot of people in it. Check out our website for ticket information. A lot of local sponsors.
All of her events that she puts on and brings in people from out of town too. So, it's great for tourism as well for the community.
That plaza has paid for itself multiple times over, I think. Certainly with events like this and the farmers market and on and on and on. So it's
It's been packed this week just with spring break. So
what are they doing? Just
nothing.
Just
it's
walking,
just an
hanging?
open space just for the kids to come out and play. We've threw out some frisbees one day and some beach balls the next day and some some clown looking glasses for the kids to have fun with and take pictures. So it's been good.
I hear from multiple sources it's going to be something going on Eclipse Day.
Yeah. So between the city and Parks and Rec and the chamber, we're having an event down there in the plaza. We'll have a DJ and we'll have plenty of solar glasses, and then all of our businesses in Old Town are going to have some solar specials or some kind of solar drinks and stuff like that to kind of play off of it. We're going to have some fun with it.
I believe, in the third grade the last time this happened for Texas. So that's how long ago it was.
Yeah.
This is a very much a once in a lifetime kind of thing, or twice maybe, I don't know, but it's highly unusual, highly rare.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be a big deal. And the whole communities are shutting down.
Yeah.
And like Ennis and others. And it's going, I wonder if BISD is going to let kids out of school.
I don't know.
Because
I haven't heard anything.
I've heard a couple school districts have, but I'll let Jimerson make that call.
Yeah.
I don't want to be involved in that.
No, I don't either.
Yeah. Also, thank you to our friends over at Southern Gym.
Yeah.
Great jewelry as always.
Oh, yeah.
How many times have you been there?
A few times. So more repairs and things of that nature.
They do a lot of repair work.
Yeah, absolutely.
My wife does a couple of, errands, I guess, if you will, taking stuff to people and bringing them from people and all this other stuff. And they do have these people on staff. But there's some driving involved. Sometimes they'll make a delivery if you want. If you, incapacitated, shall we say?
Yeah.
But they really are a full service jeweler, and she has a big event on May 4th that's going to be a big day all the way around.
Yeah.
But May 4th is a Kentucky Derby Day also, and she's going to have an event.
It's also Election Day.
Yes, and
So it's also my birthday.
also your birthday, and also Lisa Schwartz and Crazy 8 City on the Hill. It's going to be over at the BHS parking lot. So you had all these events. And so we put it on the 4th because it is your birthday. Like I said, you do have the keys to the kingdom. We want to keep you happy. But this event is going to be a fundraiser for Wings of Hope, which is an equine therapy group.
Just south of town. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be a big deal. Also, thank you to Brenda Ramirez and Two Maids. TwoMaidsCleaning.com/Burleson, 817-764-0733. They do the windmiller building, so they do big events. They do your homes, apartments, the whole thing. They clean it. And the thing is, rather than just pay them and off they go, they get paid based on the quality of their service. And
cool.
so they do give great service. And Brenda's really expanded this business quite a bit in the last 2 years. So they're really making progress here. So they want to increase their Burleson presence, make that maybe their hub. Also, thank you to our friends over at Old Pro, John Williams, 817-734-2756. Supposedly, we're going to have bad weather tonight, but like my loyal listeners know, I'm a weather agnostic, so I don't really believe in weather.
Yeah.
So, but if we do have some heavy-duty rain, you want to know your roof's in good shape. So I call John, like I said, at 817-734-2756. It's good to find out now that your roof is in good shape as opposed to after.
No, yeah.
And Camco, Sammy Campbell, Candy Gal. Did you go to school, Sammy?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right. Sammy Ortiz was her maiden name. But
Okay. No.
That didn't ring a bell? Okay. Well, Sammy Campbell and Candy Gal have been doing mortgage work here in Burleson for about 20 years, and they're doing it for their own company now. They work for their brokers, so they deal with multiple mortgage companies. And I've worked with them twice for refinancing, for repairs for the house, and also for school bills.
Yeah.
And it was easy peasy as much as it can be. There's a lot of process involved in it.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't do it. It's got to be so patient and know all these details. And they just held my hand and gave me a Kleenex when I started tearing up and whatever. So 817-778-4592 or 871-925-2661. Let's talk about downtown for a little while. You mentioned McKinney. And that is a really developed. You're from McKinney, or at least you're born there. Do you still have family there?
Still have family.
So
there.
you've been there plenty of times, and you've seen what's going on down there. I have a close friend there, and we go there several times a year. I just go. I like to ride the trains to Plano. He picks me up, and we go to McKinney and whatnot. And it just, when I was a kid in Plano, you got either a court date or your license there, and that was it. The only thing that was around the square, maybe a diner.
Yeah.
And you can always tell when I think a community is in distress when they're downtown, when you see a bunch of junk shops, antique malls, whatever else. Now they got restaurants, they got high-end retail, they have bars, they have, their antique stores there are not junk shops. They're like, they're very, very nice antiques, that kind of
Absolutely.
thing. The high-end stuff. And yet they're coming here, aren't they, to come see what we're doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody in economic development, we share different ideas. I mean, at conferences that we are all at and things of that nature, what's happening, what's good, what have y'all done, how have y'all put deals together, things of that nature. We're always sharing ideas.
They talk to you about Project U?
Yeah, a little bit.
But I'd like to talk about that towards the end of the show, because that was a really, really big success. But
absolutely.
But it's amazing because they're coming to Burleson. 30 years ago, not so much. Not so much. Because you remember when downtown, if you want to call it Old Town, had Oldham's Barbecue and was a Big Four Appliance.
Big Four Appliance.
Nashville.
Nashville.
The antique store.
Absolutely.
And the malt shop. And that's all I can remember from back then.
I mean, for the most part, that's all I can remember too.
Yeah. And now, you go down
Bailey's one main place.
Right. What was that back in the day? Because I remember there was upstairs was antiques and stuff, but I don't remember. They talk about Bailey's one main place in the 80s.
It was almost like a gift shop.
Yeah.
That Betty Bailey had.
Right.
When they bought the Babes building and kind of saved it from being destroyed.
Was it going to be really torn down?
I think so.
Holy
I think that
moly.
was. Yeah.
I can't imagine Old Town without that building.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the very heart of it.
Before that was Dalton's Corner in there. I wasn't old enough for Dalton's Corner. So.
What was Dalton's Corner?
It was just it was like a teen hangout.
It's like video games and all that.
I'm not completely sure what all had in there. I'm sure some other older timers in town would know that frequent the place when they were in high school.
Well, I'd heard when I first moved here something called Dalton's Corners, but I didn't hang out around there very much, and that kind of thing. Of course, nobody hung around Burleson that much because we all went to Fort Worth if we needed anything. Now, I rarely go to Fort Worth to get something. That's the goal.
Is keep everybody in town.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and so when they come and ask us what we're doing, what do you tell them?
It's a lot of community involvement. It's a lot of small business involvement too. I mean, we rarely go into a big project without having community support and comments and small businesses that it affects. Comment and giving their input as well, and put a vision together for different pieces of property or bigger pieces of property. From what council's directives were when we started the process. And it always goes back to council for approval or, hey, would mind changing this, or go back out to the community and ask them this. I mean, it's a very collaborative effort to put any kind of different new project on the ground in Old Town. So, because if you don't have the support of those businesses that it's going to affect around them and the community input, kind of setting yourself up for not being so successful.
And one thing I have noticed also is that this development isn't just in Old Town, but it's along Wilshire as well. We've had quite a bit of that. Is there another area of town that's is developing like that? Like Old Town and like some of these areas in Wilshire like that? Like used to be the Church of Christ property. Yeah. I don't know what they call it now, but you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Chipotle and all that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is there other areas of Burleson that are like set aside for that kind of mass development?
Not really set aside. I think we're always talking to developers about redevelopment of older parcels that may be for sale and things of that nature, and trying to put a deal together with them and to redevelop it and bring something new to market to our community.
Right.
That's what happened with Summercrest and Wilshire, the old China King or old Jose's.
Yes. I'm glad. I don't miss that building at all.
No one does.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's kind of the process with that. We worked with both of those developers to try to put a deal together to where we can develop it to bring new to market kind of users that we don't have.
Well, it's interesting also. I just wonder, when we have all this development, it's almost like synergistic, because when they see it going on, you attract others. Yeah. And it kind of gathers its own momentum, and that's what you see happening up there.
Absolutely. I mean, for the longest time, communities get the McDonald's, the Burger Kings, those, fast food establishments, as they grow. But as they continue to grow and get a little bit bigger like we are, you kind of get into the, upper echelon fast casual restaurants is what we call them, with your Kava and Payway.
I'm looking forward to Payway. I like Payway.
So they'll be open in the next probably 90 days, 120 days, 3-4 months, and then you have Shipley's Donuts and things of that nature. So
I tell you one thing I'd like. I live east of town, and there's not much east of the highway. All right, there. I mean, I know the QT just opened up, and it's and the hamburgers over at One Stop Renfro are really good actually. But we don't have much. I mean, we have Villa Diana. And that's about it, in our neck of the woods. I'd like to see some development out there. Is there any talk about that?
No, I mean, it's all driven by, rooftops and traffic counts.
Right.
So Wilshire having the heavy traffic counts.
Sure.
Hidden Creek is, getting more traffic on it as well. But when you get east of the freeway, it's more estate homes, bigger parcels of land for, that's just one owner that hasn't, wanted to subdivide his property or anything like that. So you'll see it closer to the 35 corridor.
Well, we don't even have much of that. I mean, if I want to go get something, it's not a long drive. I'm not complaining about it, but there's nothing east of the highway. Yeah. But everything else is west of it, at least. Yeah.
And they're just trying to get in front of the traffic.
Yeah, I guess so. And then, of course, a lot of it's now being around the HEB and Kroger area. I don't, what is it? Burleson Crossing or something like that. Yeah. Okay, that's what it's called?
Yeah,
okay.
I think so.
Yeah. But it's, where everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Burleson Commons, where Kroger's at.
Yeah. And that whole square, and where Torchy's is, which we have a big Torchy's fan in the room.
Yeah.
Praise Jesus,
Torchy's.
Yeah, he's a big fan.
There'll be something new coming in between the Chase and the Torchy's, right in between there.
Do you know what it is?
I do know what it is.
Yeah, okay.
It's
still under wraps.
Just want things to get approved before
I got you.
we go announcing things.
He told me it's actually going to be
okay, well,
there we go.
Really excited about that.
There we go.
Oh, wow.
So, you have that. I mean, Mr. Poke just opened or had their soft opening on Hidden Creek at the Standard. They have their grand opening this Saturday. That's been a huge hit already.
Really? I didn't even know what that is. It's like I asked a couple of guys. I had Melvin on the show. Yeah. You saw Melvin Robertson, the Doughboy.
Love
Donuts.
Melvin.
Yeah. And you were participating in that. Yeah. And he tried to describe to me it was like some sort of sushi. And I am, I guess, the only person I know that doesn't like sushi. But
no, I don't like it either.
But I understand they got other things going on. And understand that even if I'm not a big fan, it doesn't matter.
They do have cooked chicken. Okay. I know that. So you'd still probably be able to get something there if you needed to.
Of what I hear, there's a lot of people looking forward for them to open.
Yeah.
And I hear a lot of compliments about roasted beanery. My wife working at Southern Gym, sometimes I get coffee from there or get something from Melvin and whatnot. And they're very complimentary. Robin thinks they're great. Yeah. And if Robin likes it, therefore I like it. So,
there you go. Yeah, there you go.
But there's a wish list I think that Rob and I put together sometimes. Do people do that to you?
Oh yeah, I get texts or phone calls or emails all the time of like, hey, I would really love to have this in town.
Like it's something specific or just a type of restaurant or type of business?
Yeah, very specific to, hey, we need more entertainment in town or I would like to have this in town or that in town, things of that nature.
When I first got here, there was a bowling alley, but we have no. I guess Alley Cats does now, right?
Alley Cats will have everything we need.
Everything we need, yeah.
And they should be open within next 90 days.
Trying to get there in time for summer, aren't they?
Yeah. So they're flying.
Well, Robin asked me when I told her you were going to be on the street. She said, "Ask him about Maggiano's." You ever heard of that joint?
I have an Italian place.
It's over in North Park, and there's a couple other places. And I love you, Diana. Yeah. Maggiano's it's a bit more pricey, but it's really, really good.
Yeah, the upscale restaurants is probably what we get the most requests for because that's what most people leave town to go to. Hopefully they've checked out American Revelry before because that's very upscale and very good.
Yes.
That what Chef Denise does there at American Revelry at the Standard. But we're just not, we're big enough, but it's just a matter of getting them in the room to understand our market a little bit better. They need to be in a market that's very dense, and ours isn't that dense. So they have other markets that they look at before they look at ours.
What about that Station 303?
Station 330?
330. I got the numbers, but they're wrong in order.
So
that's going to not going to be like this isn't a Western Sizzling. It's going to be
it's going to be a little upscale and things of that nature. And Jesse Birdsall, that's going to be the general manager there. He's been in the restaurant industry for a long time, and I think they're going to be open within the next 30 days, and I think that'll be a big hit too.
Well, I hope so, because you do need restaurants of that caliber, because Burleson people have special occasions, and for me taking Robin to anywhere is a special occasion, because we're fairly cheap, but it's a nice place to celebrate anniversaries, birthdays, whatever.
Fantastic food in Old Town.
Oh, there really is.
Eagles Point has some.
I need to go there.
Great food in there.
I hear that a lot. And Robin went there one time, and she said that it was. She went. It was like during their happy hour because there was a group thing going on. Yeah, and that's not her scene.
We went Saturday for lunch. Me and my wife, and ran into Byron Black and his wife.
So Byron likes it.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
There's the King Emeritus right there.
Exactly. So,
but I heard a lot of good things about Eagles Point.
It's a great spot.
And and if it's the weather's nice out in the patio.
Yeah, and they're open from lunch now on Wednesdays through Sunday. So.
What you need to do is put the Squeeze on Frescoes, have them open up one more night a week. Tell them open up on Tuesdays at least.
Jaime and Reagan, their team, they know how to operate.
I know. It's like I'm sure your.
I'll leave it to the professionals.
Yeah, you don't get involved in helping them run their business.
Oh no. So,
but there's other places besides restaurants. I mean, what kind of other types of businesses or retail or whatever? What else do they suggest to you?
Just more specialty stores, a lot of, just more clothing stores, different type of clothing stores. And we always refer them back to, like we've had requests to bring in a Dillard's and things of that nature. And that's big department stores.
I heard about that many years ago, the spot for a Dillard's. I thought that's interesting.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But you're not the big power centers like Gateway Station are changing. Those you don't see a lot of them popping up. They need to be more, where you can experience things in the shopping center, stay there longer, more green space, walkability, things of that nature. The big box stores are going to stay in the big metro areas. They're really not going to branch out to smaller suburban areas. Now we have a JCPenney's, which is that and Kohl's are our two probably biggest department stores. Yeah. And the JCPenney's here does extremely well.
Does it really? Okay. Because I don't do a lot of clothes shopping, and it's I'm in and I'm out, and that's kind of I haven't been in Penny's in a little while, but it does well here.
It does extremely well.
And that's good to know.
Yeah.
You ever been to South Lake in their town center?
Yes, sir.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, it is. And it's very, again, it's their median household income in South Lake is way different than ours.
Oh, much, yes. But that's where they have their city hall as well. But they have acres of high-end shopping.
High-end shopping and living.
And living.
Condos in their old town and downtown areas.
And they have some really fancy restaurants. When I say fancy, anything more than, to go is fancy, like Mi Casina. I like Mi Casina. But there's other types of restaurants of that caliber.
We'll never actively recruit a Mi Casina for downtown because we have Frescoes.
Right.
And it's we're very picky and patient. And I think that's the direction of past councils and this current council is making sure we get something unique in our downtown that plays well with our small businesses. And we want Old Town to become, what it is becoming and being more individually small business, regional players, but not a nationwide corporate kind of player.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because I like Mi Casino a lot, but I know where I can find one. I'd like to have something here in town owned by local folks. Yeah. Or maybe a smaller chain. I know there's more than one Fresco's, but they're not our big chain.
But more regional kind of players.
Right.
Even Grump's has 5-6 locations.
Yeah, but that's
things of that nature.
But they're local, regionally owned, as opposed to like McDonald's and all that. And that's what I'd like to see in Old Town and other places in Burleson.
And the smaller businesses are more locally owned. When you have that, you get more involvement from the business community in what you're doing as a community. So you see our success at events. You see theirs. I mean, it plays off one another. That's why I say everybody's part of the team. From the citizens to the city council, we're all playing the same game.
And you and the chamber do work very closely together.
Absolutely.
When I have Melissa on the show,
yeah, I talk to Melissa every week and exchange ideas and what's coming up, what's going on,
and
things of that
I think
nature.
she's done a really good job. I mean,
Absolutely.
Sabrina did a really good job, and God bless her. I saw her Tuesday night at this chamber event, but I think Melissa took on a big responsibility and has done very well with it. But I was at a chamber event at Moretti's Oil.
Yeah.
It's a great place.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
If you like to cook or just entertain or whatever, they get everything you want. And they had, of course, they have the popcorn. They have a side area of fudge and stuff like that. But I was mostly interested in the cooking oils. And
the olive oils and the vinegars that they have. And it
was a lot of fun.
It's good stuff.
Chamber does really well.
Yeah, we had Moretti's. At Project U, our afternoon snack was sponsored by Moretti, or we had Moretti's popcorn. So
is that right? Yeah. All the various kind they had.
Absolutely.
That's interesting. But that's emblematic, I guess, is the word I'm looking for what we do in Burleson. Because Lisa Schwartz says, how important it is to support small businesses.
Absolutely.
And I think that's been a real bonus in Burleson. I don't know if other communities are quite as adamant about that, but we really do. I mean, we're not going to chase off McDonald's or whatever.
No,
but we're also very big on having local ownership as best we can, and a lot of mutual support.
It's one of our goals is just to make sure any new event that we're doing that we have small business support and we're supporting them back.
Well, but not everything's going on in Old Town. I think what's coming in our future is that development near Chisholm Park.
Yeah. Chisholm Trail.
Yeah, it's going to be a real big deal, particularly after that Craft Masters group comes in. I have to remember that name because I know it's a big tech school, and I'm like...
Probably have groundbreaking this summer.
Yeah, and it's going to bring in a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's going to be challenging for you to try to maintain the unity of the community. Victoria talks about this, Dan talks about this from City Council. They said, we don't want to have sub-pockets of community like you do in a bigger city. You want to have one town. And when they split the two high schools, I think it gave us a real good object lesson of what could happen when you have divided areas almost. Now that it's long since passed. That's an issue. But all that development out west, how are you going to tie that into the rest of the community?
You put that into the planning part of that. Craft Masters are going to be heavily involved in the community as a whole.
Right.
Different sponsoring, different things of that nature. So I think just making sure that where our synergies are at today, they continue there as community synergies are. If it be Old Town or Chisenhall Fields or things of that nature, we're not recreating something we already have.
Well, business, we get along, we all help each other, but it's still competitive.
Absolutely.
Do we have pressures from the community to say, okay, you're spending all your time in Old Town, we need to work on it over here?
A little bit. Sometimes, we don't have a choice because that's where the user wants to be.
Well, you're not directing them. It's like, you don't want to go over there, but go over here. But
we show all parts of the community when we're trying to recruit somebody to try to figure out the best spot for them. We're trying not to cherry pick a spot and say, this is the only spot you'll be successful and none of that nature.
Right.
I mean, case in point, with Alley Cats and where they're going, that was very strategic on their part. And, we showed that to them thinking that was going to be, probably last on their list of where they wanted to be. But as they see the planned growth out west, that intersection is main and main to go out west in the future. I'm thinking of going back to Old Town. I guess I would like to, my mind went back to this. Is Old Town geographically restricted? I mean, it's you got the tracks on one side, you got the high, Renfro and whatnot. Then you got residential houses. I think it's Old Town runs from Wilshire to 35. Renfro's the kind of divider, and you have both sides of Renfro. I think we have the synergy in the core where it's at today. How it kind of grows out from there, I think it's going to grow across the tracks with the Hill College site being developed in the future to be something.
This is news to me, and I worked there. We having a Hill College site going there?
No. Where Hill College used to be.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So,
All right.
No.
Right.
Where Hill College used to be, and that getting developed, the 1611, the golf simulator place
Right.
going into the Dollar General. I think you start to see some synergies down that way.
Everybody has an opinion what through and do that patch of land there. Where Hill used to be. And I know there's been some discussion about like multi-use, retail at the bottom and office space up top. And has that moved any further, or is it still in the conversation stage?
I think our goal is to, we need to be patient. The old towns are constantly changing throughout everywhere, all the Texas downtowns. And we want to make sure that we're putting something there that can be sustainable, that's a benefit to everybody in the community.
Well, I find this interesting because being a city planner, I would find it be interesting work for me, and because I do like the urban environment, and I know that it's been the last 15, 20 years has been a real consolidated push to create many urban areas as opposed to having one big downtown core and all these suburbs out around it. But they're trying to create like walkability type areas and stuff like that. And,
where you have an experience.
Right. And we're getting much further along than we used to.
Absolutely.
Certainly. But there's still some places. But does this economic expansion put pressure on people to either sell and move out or upgrade?
I think, as if there was property owners in Old Town, they could probably get approached more times than people that aren't in Old Town. But everybody has their price. I mean, everything is up for negotiation.
Right. Right.
But I could see in the future some of the residential homes turning into office uses or lawyers' offices, things of that nature. But right now we're just focused on what we have, and we have some empty spaces right now that we're trying to fill, and
there's a couple of spaces,
just a couple, but we're just trying to make sure that we're doing it right.
Well, there's a couple of spaces, and I don't know if I really want to name them because I may not know what I'm talking about, but I see some spaces in the Old Town area that are underdeveloped in a sense. I just wonder how long that's going to last. I mean, because as the property gets more valuable, the rate may not change, but the payment does. And I just wonder if you get to a situation where it gets very difficult to afford a piece of undeveloped or underdeveloped land in the Old Town area.
People run into that, especially this year. Interest rates are still up, and it's an election year, so we see development kind of pause a little bit until it gets past that, and then it really ramps back up. But you're
talking about the national election.
Yeah, national election.
Right, the local elections.
Local election doesn't affect the development, but nationally from capital markets and things of that nature when developers are trying to put together their financing.
Well, I could think of several places that honestly I drive by sometimes and I say, I wonder how long that's going to be there, because I know the economics of rising property costs, because as Old Town grows and gets more and more attractive, it's going to increase the value of the property. And even if the rates are kept or even cut, that doesn't mean your dollar amount's going to be less.
I mean, whatever you buy it for, your rents reflect how you bought it. And, depending on what those rates are, you knock out a lot of users that can't afford that.
Yeah.
So you get a smaller pool of people that could rent it. So sometimes developers decide, hey, maybe not right now.
Well, in 5 years from now, I could think of places that are along the Renfro and whatnot that are going to be basically they're going to buy them out sooner or later. They're going to whoever owns that property is going to make a lot of money, and that's fine. And same as those homeowners at south of Old Town. I don't know if they're getting any pressure about anything, but I know their property value's gone up. I was looking at a very small house for my daughter and her then husband, I guess. And boy, like, wow, that's a lot of money for like a 1,100 square foot house. I mean, it's like more than mine practically. And so, but you get a lot of that. But you also, I remember last time here, you talking about the old police station's going to be sold and torn down. And I still make my appeal: keep those trees.
No, the live oak trees are going to stay on the corner.
Thank you.
So, that was part of our visioning, whatever that may be, but it'd be a cool patio setting underneath the live oaks. So.
Yes, that's
If
don't
that's
know.
what it turns into, we'll see.
Well, but you were saying it's going to be for parking, but it also going to have some real
We'll have
retail there. Couple pads.
130 new parking spots there in a new parking lot, and then there'll be a 10,000 square foot pad left, for development of something.
Yeah. And we were talking about also before the show, I don't know if we got into it much early in the show, but about we don't have a mass transit system, and I'm not advocating we get a DART rail kind of system because that I like the trains, but I can't see that feasible for Burleson. But is there a way that we could have some sort of public transport when we get bigger to kind of connect all this? So, like I could park in Old Town, and if I want to go to the H-E-B area, I don't have to drive and butt my way through all that traffic on Wilshire, and just have, solve maybe some of the traffic issues we might have if we had more mass transit of sorts.
Potentially. I mean, it hasn't been discussed or anything like that. That's usually a policy decision from council.
Right.
Yeah.
But I just wondered if there had been discussion. I had Victoria on a week from Monday.
I think it's
I'm going to ask her about that.
It's a hard thing to tackle for a city our size. And they put it to the voters in Arlington, and it's been voted down numerous times.
Oh, sure.
So, I mean, it's a conversation, but that's more of a policy discussion higher than me.
Well, I know, and speaking of elections, I'm not going to ask you to weigh in on the liquor election coming in November because, you're very discreet. But have you had anybody call you and say, hey, we're interested in building something there if this passes?
No, sir.
Okay, really? In Total Wine? Oh,
No, sir.
Okay. Well, I just wondered if you had some interest because I don't know if it's going to pass.
We've had past calls with specs, but they're going on 1187.
Yeah.
Which that whole development, all those new restaurants up there, those are sitting in the city of Fort Worth.
Right. And a lot of people think it's Burleson, but I keep reminding them.
not.
So, because when a lot of discussion was about they're going through the petition, they're like, why do we need to? We have specs. No, we don't. All right. And, I'm not going to ask, like I said, you're going to keep you neutral. But me personally, I'm not a big drinker, whatever else. But I think we need to pass it because it'll help our restaurants because the Johnson County folks can only buy from one place. And I don't think that's going to help us. I think if we had the ability to have multiple suppliers for our restaurants, it'd help with their costs quite a bit.
Yes, sir.
Which, even if you don't drink, it's going to help and keep your costs lower, prices lower. You name the restaurant. And so I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that change, either by law or if we have to change it by an election. But but I just was wondering because this happened when I was in Plano. They changed the liquor laws a little bit, and it was the only restaurant in town that was set up for it. I worked at. They only had bar setups. And it was a BYOB joint, but then they passed the liquor laws, and I mean we were swamped for months before the other restaurants could catch up. And I would just wondered if some people may be trying to get their foot in the door sooner. I
haven't heard from anybody.
Okay. Really?
Nope.
Okay.
I have not.
Okay. Well, that surprises me a little. I figured Total Wine or I don't know, some other outfit would be, hunting around for it. Who knows?
He is hard to break.
What is?
I don't have to keep a secret if I hadn't heard from them.
Yeah, I don't think.
You could just tell me the secret. And then it's time.
Secret there.
I'm thinking. I'm thinking he really doesn't know.
No,
I don't think he. Just,
No.
If Total Wine had called, you just say, "What's the next question?"
Yeah, exactly.
You say, "I have no comment about that. I can't really talk about that." Now, if he doesn't know, he doesn't know. But I'm just surprised a little bit.
It's still early.
Yeah, but you also, I understand why some people have.
If a company like that was wanting to come in, they're not going to do a whole lot of due diligence ahead of the election itself. Mm-hmm. They're not going to purchase property or nothing like that.
Well, no, but they might want to be hunting for property and getting a general idea how
That's
much
what
it
I mean.
costs.
I think they might be a little early.
It's what's interesting. How many times you get asked about that piece of property that's on East Renfro, that big patch of land by Branson Elementary? Everybody assumes that that's somebody owns it.
I don't get any phone calls on it.
Well, the school district owns it.
Yeah.
Nobody calls about that.
No, it's too far removed from 35.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I know at one time, many years ago, they were talking about building a junior high there. and some of the folks were not happy about that.
Yeah.
And so it's just been sitting there idle for 25 years or more. And so
It's been a while.
and it's costing the taxpayers money, dadgummit, because you're not getting any tax revenue from it.
That's school district's property.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, I remember a couple of people in city council said, what we had to do is get all these churches off the main thoroughfare and put them, But there you go.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Project U. I had talked to several people about that they were just blown away by it. They said it was one of the best things they've ever been to. Jeremy Bleeker over at our BNI group, he was highly complimentary. So was several other of our BNI members that attended. And they just said, they go out these things all the time, and usually they go for the food or something like that. But they said this was one of the most helpful seminars they've ever been to. Now, I'm sure that took you, a couple hours to plan?
Yeah. Yeah. So we, let me see, we probably started thinking about, this wild, crazy idea of hosting our own conference 7-8 years ago. Just because we travel to different conferences for work, and some of them have a leadership aspect to it and professional development. Some of them don't. But the one that we really enjoy every year is put on by Consultant Connect out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. And we were like, I wish all of our businesses and people in the community could hear the same thing. So we kind of tossed it around the office, and at the time, same as today, we have 3 people on my team, including me. And it's, how do we pull that off? And so we started talking to these different organizations, how they do it, what they do, things of that nature, and they charge, $500-$600 just to attend.
Right.
Plus you have to travel to it, things of that nature. And we kind of set our goals as we want it to be a break-even event. This is something that we want to put into our community to enrich our business owners and leaders in our community. Of every walk of life. It's not just a realtor conference. It's not just a church conference. It's for anybody that's, in a leadership role or aspiring to be a leader can attend. There's no restriction. So, and one of our goals is to make it cost effective for even the smallest business to be able to attend. So that's where we started. That was our first goal.
There's that Pathways, right?
Yes.
See, every time I get Dan or Victoria or anybody else from the council on the show, I like to say, we need an event center like Cleveland. But you said that it would kind of may take away from the intimacy of it, because you had what, waited at tables. I just figured it'd be a buffet like so many other seminars you go to.
No, it wasn't. I mean, we set out certain goals for us. Is we wanted to make sure that everybody was at seated tables, for the conference itself. Theater seating is not. It's not a good organic networking area.
Right.
So, we had 380 people at Pathway. We bring in speakers from all over the country that we've heard before, and put on a conference that is very professional and very done the right way in production value. But one of the big things was lunch. I can go to a conference all the time and say, conference was great, but lunch wasn't great.
Right.
And lunch is what sticks with you.
It sure does. I can remember some of those teacher seminars. And
me and our team met with Dave Mueller at the RIM, the general manager there, and he's like, we could do it this way and still serve a quality meal and be out in time to get back to the conference. So we started it that way the first year at First Baptist Church. Everybody sitting at a table, and they come and bring you a hot plate of food and fill your glass with water or tea. And
at First Baptist, that's all you're getting.
Well, I mean, that's where we had it the first year in person. And then at Pathway, we do it the same way. So, we send out surveys afterwards, and everybody was saying this is the best year ever. And
I heard, Jeremy, who runs our meetings, he's kind of the head honcho of it. He took his time to talk about it and said, we need to all go next year. That kind of, as a group.
It's fantastic.
You mentioned the food. There is, I've been to all these teacher seminars. I remember going to an AP seminar many years ago at TCU, but they were doing some construction on their cafeteria. So we had it at the Baptist church right next door, had the seminar. And the ladies of the church made lunch. And it was so good. We were bringing Tupperware to take it home with us. And it really, it's like it sure takes us.
But we had people from Wichita Falls Chamber there. City of Wiley had 2 tables. They brought over their city management team. Different people from outside of our area now are coming to the conference, and we're big on local stuff. So we bought out Busy Bee Bakery for the day, and she catered breakfast for everybody. And Karen and Kyle attended their first conference ever in their lifetime, being business owners, and had some great takeaways from it. Lunches from the Rim, all the signage we get from Dynamic Screen Printing in town, the Moretti's, everything is local. And it's even the speaker dinner the night before when we take the speakers out for dinner, it's local.
Sure.
It's a ripple effect, and we're big on how many ripples can we create with things that we do.
And speaking of another great seminar with great food is the one they have every summer I went to at the Federal Reserve. I mean, that was fantastic. And you think, we're joking around about food. No, believe me, when you're going to a seminar, as a teaching seminar, like I went to, some of them can be real beatings, but if they had decent lunch or good breakfast, it takes a sting out of it.
Yeah.
But I heard that the speakers were great, that they had a lot of impact, and that, that they could take away. Jeremy was relating some of the things one particular speaker talked about screen time on the phone and how you need to kind of limit that, for your own mental
that's Carlos
sanity.
Whitaker's talk.
That's it. Yeah. And talk about how, people need
how
to,
impactful it is. We consume as much in 30 minutes as somebody from the greatest generation did in 90 days.
And that's why I'm so tired all the time.
Yeah. So I think, Carlos has got a new book coming out this fall that I think everybody would be to get, just because, he unplugged for 3 months hanging out with the monks and the Amish and didn't have a phone on him. He's going to talk about his experience of he had his brain scanned beforehand and after, to kind of look at the difference. And I think everybody would be eye-opening to that.
Well, even if you just away from your phone for a little while.
Yeah.
My wife and I just bought new phones a couple of days ago, and we're having a little bit of a transition period, a little difficult to getting everything over. So we had to put our phones aside, and after about an hour, you're like, somebody must be calling me, and something must have happened. I need to know
exactly.
You get antsy, and the kids. When I was still teaching,
he stops in his talk for, I think it's like 45 seconds, and doesn't say a word. And it's just part of his talk, and you think the world is coming to end in 45 seconds.
These kids, they're so hooked on it. And now, of course, yesterday the House voted to ban TikTok, which would make them even crazier. How do you feel about that, Taylor, about banning TikTok?
That's a conspiracy show, because there's a lot of other things in that bill that were hidden.
Okay. I haven't read much about it. I got to read early. There's always stuff stuffed in there that
the government has the power to take down websites if they don't agree now.
Well, we'll see. I don't know. I don't know.
Project U has, the very first year, was 2020, and then COVID hit, so we went virtual with our speakers. The second year was our first in-person, and then this next year is going to be year 5, and we start to sell out earlier and earlier after we put tickets on sale October 1st. And we couldn't do it without all the sponsors that we have. Our title sponsor the last 2 years has been Texas Health Hughley, Fort Worth South, and all the sponsors being involved in it help make us be able to, and council being supportive of the event, allowing us to break even every year. So,
is it possible maybe in the future have 2-day events?
Potentially, I think, depending on how ticket sales go. We sold out this year, but we only had like 10 people on the wait list. So, we were able to get them worked in at the last minute. So, we'd have to see a lot more demand, I guess you would say, before we think about how we would expand that. And that's a bigger conversation with city council as well, and all of our sponsors.
Well, I think, of course, it's not going to happen next year, I don't think, but I could see it in the future. And there's a lot of room for growth for that too.
There is, but there again, we've talked about how big we want to make it and our goals, and it all comes back to how do we want to serve lunch. We can serve a lot more doing a buffet style, but if we want to keep what we're known for to a certain extent, what is that number?
Well,
and working with the restaurants. So.
I can also tell you, as a veteran of many in services at BISD, they never provided lunch, but they'd have these things like, convocation day and all that.
Yeah.
And then everybody would break for lunch at the same time, and it took forever to get a seat or get served or whatever. And it's maybe great for local business, but we only had an X amount of time to eat, and so we just flooded the market, so to speak. So I think
we break for lunch. We have like an hour and 20 minutes for lunch in Project U, and the RIM serves it and cleans it up in 58 minutes. Last 2 years, so it's pretty crazy.
Well, if you just said, we'll see you in an hour and a half or whatever, and everybody go out and get their own lunch.
Yeah.
Maybe, some restaurants would probably benefit, but the people wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it was just crowded everywhere. Yeah. And it was like an Oklahoma land rush, get to the car so you could beat everybody to babes or whatever it was you're doing. And so, seeing these teachers, running through the parking lot, because they want to get there before everybody else, and elbowing each other, knocking them down. It was a disgraceful scene.
But we'll start talking in April of what 2025 looks like. We'll start planning.
I tell you, the next big deal that I know of for the city is going to be Honey Tour and the amusement park that's coming to town. Now, I understand
Honey Tour and Carnival. Yeah, Carnival's going to be at Chisenhall this year just because of construction going on downtown.
Right.
But Honey Tour's going to be fantastic, like it is every year. And,
Melissa was on talk about that on the last show, and they're neck deep in planning.
Yeah. And then the following week, you have Hot Sounds kicks off the following week. So,
lots going on.
That'll be released. The lineup will be released probably in a couple weeks, but I've seen it. There's going to be some fun nights on that.
You're going to get the Stones to come by and do an appearance. Get Nick and boys.
Absolutely.
They'll just jet in, do a few songs.
Exactly.
Get back. Sure. Oh, it'll be great. But
absolutely.
No, but the thing is, I don't pay a lot of attention to other communities. I don't know if Crowley or Joshua or whatever have these events, but I know that Burleson seems to be way out ahead of the pack when it comes to these kind of civic events.
Absolutely. I think, there's other communities. Joshua, Molly Martin, my counterpart, and Joshua does a fantastic job for the city of Joshua. And they hold some stuff down there on their main street with farmers markets and things of that nature, craft fairs, with the businesses they have down there with, Hickory Tree and Brick House Grill and some other ones down there. So she's trying to create some synergy down there with their businesses. And, Crowley and, Jack Thompson when he was here at Crowley and trying to do the same thing. And, you see it at all Texas downtowns are really trying to revitalize their downtown because they see it as a synergy point for the old timers they get down there and they reminisce of what used to be here and there and that kind of thing, or they're going to that same place that's been there forever. And the new families that are coming in.
Well, one of the things that strikes me about Old Town, it's the only one that I know of that nature that is not the county seat, where the courthouse is kind of anchoring the whole thing, like at McKinney or Granbury or Cleburne. We don't have that anchor, so to speak, that everybody built around the square to revitalize. I mean, it's almost like we just said, we're going to do this.
It's kind of building around City Hall a little bit, it's get some synergy for it. And
but I think the catalyst, in my mind, it was when they started developing on the highway, all those restaurants that were in Fort Worth, everybody, Shelley's, et cetera.
Yeah.
I think that said, hey, that's money leaving our pockets, and then we see the demand they have. So
that was part of the Old Town plan when they put actually an Old Town plan in place, and I think it's 97 was the first Old Town plan. It's been revised a few different times over the years, but starting to cast that big vision. And, Ken was a big part of that and kind of carrying that vision forward along with the councils from the past and councils moving forward. It changes just a little bit here and there in terms of what council wants to do. But for the most part, everybody's, buying into the vision of what Old Town is and what it can be.
Do you have any connections with the folks in Waco? Because I was there for the first time in about 5 years. Last week, I went down there for the Baylor Texas basketball game. And
they have a ton of stuff going on,
and it ain't nothing like when I was a student there.
Yeah.
And they have they do. They have a lot of things going on, and it's not all strictly because of Magnolia and the Gaineses, but
it's the Brazos River.
Yeah.
It's developing the Brazos River. Now, the city manager down there is a very close friend of mine.
Really?
And he was a mentor of mine in Burleson when he was here. He was in Burleson, Bradley Ford, and
I remember him.
yeah, and still a mentor of mine. And that's somewhat of his vision of putting that in front of council. What do you think about this? And kind of changing it, community input, getting Baylor's input, that kind of thing.
See, and that's the big change.
They work extremely well with Baylor and partnering on the new basketball arena.
Oh, it's a great arena too, guys.
So,
I mean, I know I'm partial. I'm wearing the hat. And I confess, but I remember we used to play in the heart of Texas Coliseum, which is about like Will Rogers. But but when my day, Baylor was like this island unto itself, and now they're much more integrated into the Waco community. But I was down there for the ball game. I saw this, not just the new arena, but all the stuff that they're building around it.
A lot of new hotels, a lot of new living components on the Brazos, a lot of new restaurants coming down on the Brazos. I know this just because talking to him and hearing it all, and I think there's plans for a downtown minor league ballpark.
That'd be great.
So they're it's part of a bigger
great.
changing landscape in downtown Waco. So, but he was here when we started just messing around in the vision project with council at the time with the older council members, and the mayor and Ken Shedder, and and that was part of the plaza visioning. Was back when he was still here too. So, it's. Well, I think it's just instilling those.
It really makes a difference. Because, I mean, the areas that have been revitalized in Waco, I wouldn't go down there as a student. And now they're, they got all these, not just restaurants and bars, but, interesting places, living areas and a whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting close on time. We just get talking about stuff and time flies,
Absolutely.
Any special thing that you could tell us that you're able to tell us?
No, I think we'll have an announcement after the next council meeting next week.
Okay.
As long as it gets approved, and I think everybody will be excited about it.
I hope so. Well, that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, in the next 90 days, we'll have a lot of different things opening up. So,
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
and we're going to have you again. What is it? Mid-March? How about early June? Does that work for you?
Yeah, that'll work.
Are you going to be out of town a lot this summer?
First part of June, I'll be out. So sometime in June.
Yeah, we'll get you in there.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of open dates in summer. When a lot of people that are regular guests, they go on vacations or they got stuff going on. So I have a lot more flexibility on time scheduling.
Absolutely.
But let's see what I got coming up next week. I know I have a couple. I'm going to look on the calendar just to make sure that I don't mess it up, because I've done that before. On the 18th, I have Jessica Saucier. She's working with a cancer charity, and she's a local citizen. And I met her, and she and a couple of her colleagues are going to come and talk about cancer awareness. And then Meatmeisters is on the 19th. You know them?
I do not.
You got to get their ham. Meatmeisters.
Do I get samples?
Well, I wish they would, but what Meatmeisters does is that if you have a nonprofit event going on, they provide the meat.
Okay.
And they also sell hams for their fundraiser. And my mother says, bring one of them hams. So we had last 2 Easters, we got it. And then on the 21st, I'm meeting City Council candidate Steve McAnally. I haven't met him yet, but we've texted. He's very gracious, and he sounds like he's very eager. So we're going to have a good conversation next Thursday with this potential candidate here. Well, he's a candidate. He's not potential. He's a candidate. Potential member. I'll put it that way. So we'll see what happens with that. So I'm looking forward to that. Thanks for coming.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me.
No problem. I enjoy getting to know what's going on in the city, getting the inside dope as best we can. Taylor, he's still buzzing about that space landing or whatever spaceship that Elon Musk sent up this morning. Starship, whatever.
Yeah.
When you said Starship, I was thinking the old rock band. What does that got to do with anything? That shows you how old I am.
Yeah.
All right. But anyway, I'll see y'all next week. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.